Okay, welcome. So today is our Wednesday Bliss Techniques meeting, and it's nice to have you here. You probably can't hear it, but there's some work being done outside with some machines, so potentially there'll be some noise, but I don't think you'll hear it. So, but now you know. So as usual, we will have a guided practice today, and we will get right to that. And so but before we do that, as we often do, I want to start with the clarity of intention, because our intention guides everything that we do. We can, as you've probably noticed, we can do what seems to be what we think is the right thing and not get the right results if we don't have clarity of intention. On the other hand, quite remarkably, when we have a very clear and powerful intention, then even the things that seem to be wrong, according to our external understanding and standards, turn out to be correct. So the intention is very, very powerful. And part of the theme for today is opening to the unexpected, to be truly willing to receive the divine guidance that will support us in the truthful expression of our authentic desire. And so we want to recognize, what is that authentic desire? What is the intention? Why am I here? Or why am I here in the big sense, and also in the smaller sense in terms of just why am I here right now? And so I will tell you what my intention is, and hopefully our intentions align. If our intentions align, that will be really good. So as usual, my intention is a healing intention, which means to restore our authentic sense of wholeness. So our true nature is already whole. We're never separate from that. We don't have to do anything to restore that. Actually, that's just already there. But we, through conditioning and ignorance, have forgotten, or it's gotten covered over. So we need to recognize it. And in my view, the best way to do that is to ease into it. Rather than struggling and trying really hard, we want to ease into it. And so that's the broad intention, is a healing intention. And as I've already pointed out, what that means is to restore our authentic sense of wholeness, our true sense of who we are, and then to live from the inside out, so that rather than seeking to achieve some kind of outer thing that we think will satisfy some idea that we have of what is necessary or how we should be, we can start to actually live authentically as we are, and trust in that process, and know that that is why we're really here. We're not here to live somebody else's life. We're not here to satisfy somebody else's desires. We're actually here to be ourselves, and that's a divine purpose. It's a very, very good and wonderful thing. So it turns out it's such a simple thing, and yet it takes a it's simple and yet very complex at the same time. So we'll start with a guided practice that we will begin by lying down on the back, if that's comfortable, on the floor or on the bed, whatever should be a stable surface. And as always, it's really important that you are reasonably comfortable. You don't have to aim for perfection. It doesn't have to be like cloud nine, but you should be reasonably comfortable, at least as comfortable as you can be. And so if lying on the floor is painful for you, then don't do that. If you're in a place that's too cold for you, then find a way to be adequately warm. We want to take care of these things, because if we don't set ourselves up for success, really makes it a lot harder. So hopefully you have a good situation for that. And if you don't, then hopefully you can find a good situation for that. And if you can't, then well, then make the best of whatever you have and find out how can you allow yourself to really be as comfortable and receptive and open and supported as is possible. So for those who are just joining, we're starting with a guided practice, and we're beginning by lying down on the back on a firm, flat surface with the usual caveats. So should be comfortable, stable. You should feel supported. And take a moment to actually be here. So this is another important principle that in order to have success, we have to start where we are, and then we have to be choosing to be here, because if we're not choosing to be here, then we're not fully present, we're not fully committed, and then we're not setting ourselves up for success. So we want to be giving 100%, not by efforting and holding our breath and furrowing our brow and that kind of thing, but quite the opposite. Actually, we want to be very present and open, receptive, relaxed, and receiving the support that's here. So choose to be here. And if you don't know how to do that, then you could just silently or out loud, you could state, I choose to be here now to receive the full healing potential that is my birthright. I'm open and receptive to that. I trust in the process and know that this healing is true and it's really available to me. All I have to do is accept it. And then notice what I call the low-hanging fruit. So whatever it is that you can just choose to become aware of and let go of, all the unnecessary effort that you can choose to become aware of and let go of. Of course, you may not be able to be fully aware of some things. You may not be able to fully let go of some things, and that's fine. So we have to accept that. So it's the healing process means we have to accept a great deal. Acceptance is really very, very important. So we accept whatever we cannot let go of. We let go of whatever we can let go of. And the letting go should feel safe, at least reasonably safe. It might produce some feelings of vulnerability. It might produce some feelings of even rawness, or something that's you habitually interpret as being uncomfortable in some way, but you shouldn't feel afraid. If you feel afraid, then don't let go so much. You should feel that this is okay. You can do this. You should have confidence in that, because if you do that, it will be good. It's like if you have ever had the experience of easing into a hot bath. If it's not too hot, but it's hot enough that it's quite hot, then we need to ease into it. If we are too aggressive, then we become resistant. So in a similar way, we want to ease into it just enough that we can really open to what's available. So let the face be soft. Breathe through the nose if that's possible for you. Let the tongue relax. Let the eyeballs relax. Let the forehead relax. Let the throat relax. Let the chest relax. And we're going to bend the knees if they're not already bent, and have the feet on the surface that you're lying on, near-ish to the buttocks, but a comfortable distance, not too close that it's a strain for you. And we're going to start out by just gently moving the knees side to side. Not a large movement, just a small movement. So just sort of wobbling the knees, swaying the knees slightly, like they're blowing in the wind a little bit. So just side to side, letting the knees move side to side, and just in a range that's very comfortable for you. So if you find that it's comfortable to bring the knees all the way down to the floor, then so be it. But if you find that what's comfortable for you is that the knees move half an inch, that's fine too. Anywhere, and anything in between. So we're just feeling this experience and letting it be soft, letting it be a soothing experience, letting yourself really feel into what's possible for you to let go of, because we hold on to so much that we don't even notice until we start to move a little bit in this way, and then we can become aware. So notice in the hips, in the thighs, in the buttocks, maybe in the abdomen, all the way up the spine. So you might notice that as the knees move side to side, the pelvis moves slightly side to side. And as the pelvis moves, of course, the pelvis being connected to the spine, the whole spine moves. And since the head is connected to the spine, the head also moves. And just find out what that natural movement is. Don't force anything. Don't try to think your way to it. Just trust in the process and feel into it. Breathing in a comfortable way, in a relaxed way, so don't have to take big breaths. Just a relaxed, comfortable breath. But let the breath be relaxed. So release the unnecessary holding. Let the breath be where it is most comfortable to be in your body. So sometimes we hold a lot of tension somewhere and force the breath into places that it's not so comfortable. It's a bit of a strain, but if it's habitual, we don't notice. So here, because we're doing this gentle movement, we can discover something about how we habitually hold, and we can allow for that to let go. So the breath can move wherever it moves. Maybe we're in the habit of holding the chest tight and the chest can let go, or maybe we're in the habit of holding the abdomen tight and the abdomen can let go, or maybe we're in the habit of holding the throat tight and the throat can let go. Maybe the shoulders are tense and the shoulders can let go. Maybe the chest is tense and the chest can let go. So we just find out and let it become easier and easier. So this should be comfortable. If it's not comfortable, then find a way to allow it to be comfortable. You can always modify and adapt to your needs. And if you ever need to rest, please just rest and find a good, comfortable way to do that that feels good to you. I'm not going to necessarily give you specific rest cues, other than just to suggest that you might want to rest if you need to. So you're responsible for taking those rests whenever you need to. And again, that's part of the healing journey, is learning self-care. How is it that we can be attuned to these cues and really understand what's needed and take care of ourselves in this way? Because if we're not going to do it, who will? And it's important to take good care of ourselves at all levels, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So being willing to do that is a big thing that many of us have to learn. And then learning how to properly understand the cues is a thing that we have to learn. So it's all a process, and just trust in that. Okay, so for those who are interested, then the next step in this sequence that I'd like to explore is so you can just stabilize and come to a neutral position with the knees upright. And what we're going to do is we're going to cross one leg over the other. So you choose whichever is comfortable. You might hear that. That was a bit of a loud sound. Okay, but we're going to choose whichever leg is most comfortable for you. So the right could cross over the left could cross over the right. And now you have options when you're crossing the legs. So you want to find what works for you. So one possibility, of course, is you could just cross the ankle over the thigh. You could cross it a little bit more so that the lower leg is crossing over the thigh, or you could cross even more so that the thighs are touching, so that the one thigh is completely resting on top of the other. The knees are kind of wrapped one over the other. The lower leg of the top one is sort of draping down across. So if the left leg is crossed over the right, that the lower left leg could actually be fully across over on the right side of the right leg. Or if you're crossing the right leg over the left, then could be crossed so much so that the right knee is slightly to the left of the left knee. Hopefully that makes sense. But you find what's comfortable for you in this. So there's no prize given out to who can cross their legs the most. But you want to find what is comfortable for you, and then we'll be exploring that, so that through the exploration, you might discover that your range of comfort can expand and open. Okay, so you've got hopefully one leg crossed over the other, and if there's no way that you can find to do that that's reasonably comfortable for you, then obviously you don't do it. So it's really important. Again, it's a lesson in self-care. If you don't feel safe or comfortable doing something, then it's important that you recognize that that's presently a boundary for you, and it's okay for you to have that boundary. We need to have boundaries in this life. In the ultimate sense, there's no boundary, but in this life, clearly there are boundaries. And it's important that we are able to recognize those boundaries and to set those boundaries and take good care of keeping those boundaries for ourselves. But they can also be they can shift over time. So you find out what works for you. And if you're able to cross one leg over the other, then with the legs crossed, then again, just slightly begin to move the legs side to side. Small movement. So one foot is on the floor, remains on the floor. The other one is obviously not on the floor because you've crossed it over. So the leg that has the foot on the floor is your stabilizing leg, and that's the one that you're going to be swaying, but then the other one will obviously sway with the one that it's draped over. So small movement, just side to side. Letting the face be soft, letting the throat be relaxed, letting the tongue be relaxed, and breathing through the nose in a comfortable way, as long as that's possible for you. And if you notice that your breathing becomes strained, then ease up and find out how you can do it in a better way so that your breath can remain relaxed. That's important. So we're just letting the legs sway and letting it become more and more relaxed. So we hold so much in our legs, especially in the hips. They're in the whole connection between the legs and the pelvis. So there's a lot that we can hold there, and it's not really necessary. So we want to soften and let go of that. So that's part of what we're exploring here, is how we can let that soften and let go, and just let it be gentle, but see, can that, what are the limits of that range of comfort for you? And where do you experience those limits? Where do you feel that limit? So you're becoming more familiar with yourself, your limits, your experience. For those who are just joining, we're doing a guided practice. We're lying on the back on a firm, flat surface that's comfortable. And we started just by having the knees bent, feet on the floor, and we're just letting the legs move, the knees just sway gently side to side. And then the next part in the sequence is that we're crossing one leg over the other and then letting them sway side to side. So for those who are just joining, start by just lying on the back, knees bent, feet on the floor, and letting the knees sway side to side. And then when you're comfortable, you can progress to crossing one leg over the other and then letting the legs sway gently side to side. And then we're noticing where's the limit of that movement? Why does it get stopped? Where do you feel it? And what is the quality of that feeling? Do you experience it as sharp, dull, pulling, tearing, burning, cold, hot? What is the quality of the experience? There's so many different variations on how we can experience it. Do you experience it on the which leg do you experience it on? Do you experience it on the inner part of the leg, the outer part of the leg, the underside of the leg, or the top part of the leg? Do you experience it nearer to the knee, or do you experience it closer to the groin, possibly in the ankle or shin, calf, maybe even in the foot, maybe in the abdomen? So maybe even in the back. There's a lot of possibilities. And you're just discovering for yourself what that is. So now, uncross the legs and then just let the knees be bent, feet on the floor, and just feel what that is. Notice the difference between the two legs, two sides of the body, what you're aware of, how you're feeling, the kinds of thoughts you might be having. Are there any particular memories or images that might be present? There's no right or wrong to this. It's just about self-discovery. And then if and when you're comfortable and ready to do so, you can cross the other leg over. So we're just going to do the same thing with the other leg crossed. And again, the crossing of the legs is whatever's comfortable for you. It might be different on each side. Maybe one side you find you can cross them all the way, thigh to thigh, knee to knee. And maybe the other one you find it doesn't feel comfortable to cross it all the way. So that's okay. Again, lesson of self-care. Don't force anything. Honor that there's a difference and be curious about it. Know that when we discover those kinds of differences, that it is a wonderful opportunity for us to learn something and to discover healing, because our bodies are designed more or less structurally, they're designed more or less symmetrically. In terms of the organs and musculature, there are some slight asymmetrical qualities, but structurally they're more or less symmetrical. So the ability to cross the legs, to shift the pelvis, to rotate the spine and this kind of thing should be structurally very similar and equal on side left to right. But if we discover some difference, then that reveals something to us about our habits, what we're holding, where we're holding it, and the consequences of that down the line in our entire lives. So we might discover that there's some difference right to left, and that will reveal to us a great deal about how we sit, how we walk, how we hold ourselves, and maybe why we feel the way we feel. maybe why we experience the limitations that we experience physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, even. So we're just going to let the legs sway gently side to side. So foot remains in contact and just the knees are just moving side to side while the legs are crossed in whatever way is comfortable for you. So again, it could be ankle to thigh, it could be lower leg to thigh, it could be thigh to thigh. And just noticing again, what are the limits of the movement? So there's going to be a limit. It's okay that there's a limit. We just want to be curious about the limit. What determines that limit? What do you experience at that limit? Do you feel good at the limit? Does that feel nice to you, or is it stressful? Is it uncomfortable? Is it what are the sensations? What are the qualities of the sensations, and where do you experience them? And you can also contrast this now to what you noticed when you were doing the other leg cross. So ideally, the the limits on both sides would be mirrors of one another, and they would be very comfortable, would not have a sense of any kind of unpleasantness whatsoever. But for most of us, the limits are going to be experienced as something not entirely pleasant, and they're usually going to be a little different from side to side. So again, this is very useful for us. It's just helpful to notice it's different. And then when you're ready, you can uncross the legs. And again, let the feet rest on the floor or the surface you're lying on, knees still bent, and just notice now what you notice. What's different now from when you were last in this position a few minutes ago. So something should be different because you've done something which should produce some difference. So just notice what's different. Do you feel more stable, less stable, more confident, less confident, more pain, less pain? What different quality of experience? What do you notice? Just notice whatever it is and notice the kinds of thoughts that you have, if there are any images or memories that may be present. And there's no right or wrong answer. It's not, you don't have to go searching for the right thing. It's just notice whatever's there. So should be pretty easy if you let it be easy. So let's try again with the crossing the first leg that we did. So whichever leg that was, cross that one over. And notice now, well, first of all, just notice, is there any difference now between how you cross the leg from versus the first time you did it? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I mean, there in some way for sure there is, but how much of a difference and how much you notice will vary from person to person. But maybe you notice a difference. Maybe you notice a small difference. Maybe you notice a big difference. And then just same movement, just letting the knees just gently sway side to side, whatever is a comfortable range for you. And then just notice again, what are the limits of the movement? And what do you notice at those limits? Try to slow it down a little bit and see, before you get to the absolute limit, do you start to notice the approach of the limit? And what is the experience of the approach of the limit of the movement? Where do you feel that? And is there any way that you can allow that to be more pleasurable, more comfortable, more relaxed, more trusting? Helpful thing is to notice, what are you believing about yourself, your body, and how life is? And when you start to approach the limit, do you have a sense that I'm safe, I'm okay, my body is strong and healthy, my body can do this, my body is supported, it's safe for me to move in this way? Or are there fears and apprehensions, doubts? So you can just notice that, and then discover what's possible. Be very gentle. So it's not about, it's not a, don't take a macho attitude of, oh, well, I'm just gonna, there should be no limit, so I'll just force there to be no limit, because that's a good way to hurt yourself. But gently exploring the limit and seeing, why is this limit here? Is it a good limit? Do I feel supported by this limit? Do I feel good with this limit? Or am I feeling something fearful, something anxious, something negative, something doubtful, hesitant, apprehensive? Just find out and just see, can you open a little bit? Can you discover something that is greater than what you've been living up to now? Just a small thing. Not, doesn't have to be a big thing, just a small thing. Just small miracles are good. Big miracles, I'm sure, are good too, but small miracles, slow and steady. And then uncross the legs when you're ready. Let the feet be on the surface you're lying on, and just notice again what this experience is. And remember, you can always rest. Please do so whenever you need and in whatever way is best for you. So there's no, it's not an endurance competition to see who can tough it out the longest. It's about healing. So trusting that you're okay, that it's okay for you to have the experience that you're having, that it's okay for you to take care of yourself, that you don't have to compare yourself to anybody else. You don't have to live up to anybody else's expectations or your expectations of what other people's expectations might be. So remember that that's important. Take good care of yourself. And if you're having your feet on the surface you're resting on with the knees bent and you're just here, notice what this experience is now. So this is the third time you've been in this position since we started the movements, I think, maybe more, but at least the third time. So you can compare what's changed. And notice, is there any low-hanging fruit that you can let go of? So all of this exploration should reveal things to you, but then, of course, we forget a little bit and go back into those old habits of gripping. So just see, is there anything that you can soften and let go of? And if so, great. And if not, that's okay too. Just accept that. And then one more time, cross the second leg. So we started with one leg, then we did the other leg, then we went back to the first leg. Now we're going to cross the second leg. And notice, how is this now crossing this leg the second time compared to the first time you did it? Is it any different? Harder, easier, more comfortable, less comfortable? Does it feel safer, less safe? Just see. Not a hopefully it's better, but whatever you notice is okay. And then we'll do the same thing, just gently swaying the knee side to side. And again, just noticing the limits of the movement and slow it down so that you can really start to notice the approach of the limit. So it's not like you're surprised all of a sudden, all out of nowhere, this limit comes, but that you start to notice, how does this limit come about? It comes about through some process. So start to be familiar with that process. What are the sensations? What are the thoughts? How are you feeling about this? Do you feel safe? Do you feel stable? Do you feel secure? Do you feel good? Or are you experiencing apprehension, resistance, fear, anxiety, doubt? So just slow it down and see what you can, how you can ease into it so that it can be more comfortable, more pleasurable. And it's not, again, it's not about having the biggest range of movement. There's no prize given out for that. It's about self-discovery. So if you're moving in the range that's right for you, that's true for you, then you win. That's the thing. That's why you can't compare yourself to anybody else, because you're the only you. You're the only one who's having your experience, and you're the only one who can produce the change that you want. So you have to attend to your experience truthfully. Just notice what thoughts you have, what images are there, what beliefs are there about your body, you, what's possible, how life is, all of these kinds of things. You might be surprised. I'm often surprised to discover these things that were there operating below the conscious threshold that I had no idea. But to discover them and then tell the truth about them, it's very powerful. It's bit by bit, it is liberating at all levels. Really, the body becomes liberated, the mind becomes liberated, the emotions become liberated, and all becomes more integrated. So it's just a gentle process, but slowly and steadily it works. These little miracles, they add up. Then uncross the legs, and now find a good position that is comfortable for you. We're going to be in this position potentially for the remainder of the guided practice. So set yourself up in a good way. So you could be lying down. You could choose to sit up. You could have yourself propped up with pillows. You could have something under the knees. You could have the knees bent. You could have the legs extended. You could do whatever is comfortable and appropriate for you. And of course, you have permission to adjust if you need to, but preferably, if it's possible, we'd like to have some stillness. So see if there's a way you can choose a posture that you can be in for the next little while with as much stillness as possible. In other words, if you're already feeling a lot of discomfort and feel a strong compulsion to move and fidget, maybe a different posture would be better. Make sure you're going to be comfortable temperature wise, because especially when we're still, if have a tendency toward chilliness, then that can be amplified. So make sure you're going to be comfortably warm and not cold, for example. And so if you need to take time with that, you take the time with that, but I'll guide the practice now for everybody who is ready. So we'll start by just noticing, if you can, just breathe through the nose and let the breath be comfortable. So not unnaturally large, not unnaturally small. Don't try to breathe in a way that you think is the right way to breathe, other than, if possible, to breathe through the nose. And if you can't comfortably breathe through the nose, then obviously you wouldn't. But if you can breathe through the nose, then please do. But otherwise, just let the breath be comfortable. And we're going to also now explore the limits of the breath. So we're just breathing with awareness, and just notice as you inhale what sensations you experience, and see if you can start to notice, where does the inhalation stop? So the limit of the inhalation, we'll call it. And what is that limit? How do you experience that limit? Is it comfortable, satisfying, pleasurable, calm, relaxed? Or is it something else? Do you feel happy, positive, or do you feel some kind of dissatisfaction or urgency or anxiety or impatience or frustration or anything else? So there's not a right answer to this, other than just whatever is true. And I'm pointing that out because sometimes we think, oh, but I should have a particular experience because that's the right experience to have. Yeah, that's a nice idea, but actually we have the experience that we have. And if we don't attend honestly to the experience that we have, then the notion of what experience we should have only is harmful to us. So I'm just inviting that we can be present to the actual experience that's here. So we're just inhaling and exhaling naturally, but attending to the experience and noticing the limit of the inhalation. And what is that? Where do you experience it, and how do you experience it? So do you feel, does the limit feel soft? Does it feel hard? Does it feel uh, flexible, or does it feel rigid? Does it feel satisfying or unsatisfying? And where in the body do you notice it? Whatever else you notice about it, if there are any images or thoughts that accompany it, notice that. And each time that you're noticing this, just see, can you slow it down a little bit? Not in a way that becomes uncomfortable, not not forcefully, not in a way that produces uncomfortable air hunger, but can you just ease into it a bit so that you just allow it to be a little calmer, a little slower of an approach, so that you start to be really able to notice, what is this experience? What is it? What are all the qualities of it? What's happening? How does it happen? So that you're not just breathing mechanically, and you're not taken by surprise by it, and you're not just repeating the same thing over and over and over, but you're actually starting to notice the nuances of it, and through that awareness, then of course what happens is some change starts to happen. The change that starts to happen is emerging naturally from within your essence. So you have within you an essence, and this essence is entirely delightful to you. I mean, it has to be. There's no other way. It has to be absolutely delightful to you, your essence. In truth, everyone is completely in love with their essence. There's no other way. It has to be that way. That is a universal truth. But we are often ignorant of it. It's been overlaid with a lot of habits and conditioning. So we don't necessarily have a recognition of it or a trust in it. But here we're letting it emerge, noticing that as we start to just ease into it, slow down, calm, attend to noticing the experience, it's like it becomes purified. All these layers of rigidity and fear and apprehension and all of that kind of thing gently softens. And what is revealed is this essential delight, this delight of yourself, so that you can start to really feel this underlying delight. Now, for some of you, that will be apparent, and for some of you, that will not be apparent. It depends on a lot of factors. So be patient. It's okay if you don't notice that right away. Keep trusting in the process, and you will. That I promise you. Whether that takes 5 seconds or 5 minutes or 5 days or 5 years, I don't know. But if I promise you, if you continue to stay with it, you will discover this, because it's there. Your essence is by definition there. It's who you are at the core. And as I say, you have to be, it is essentially true that you are completely in love with your essence, and that discovery of that true self-love is experienced as complete delight. So just noticing the limit of the inhalation and just easing into it, letting it soften, and discovering the underlying delight of it. And then we can also do the same with the limit of the exhalation. So the limit of the exhalation, meaning as you're just naturally exhaling, not forcefully, not artificially, not mechanically, but just naturally exhaling, you notice, where does the exhale stop? And what is the experience of that? So again, there's layers of habit and conditioning, such that for some of us, initially we experience that limit of the exhalation as something that's unpleasant to us because it seems urgent or strained, or there's a strong sense of air hunger, or there are particular thoughts or images that surface, or particular sensations that we don't like. So that is okay if that happens, because again, we have to start where we are and be willing to attend to the actual experience that we have, rather than what we think we should be experiencing. Because we have to actually notice what's happening in order for the change to take place. But as you attend to it in this way, just noticing, what is this experience, and let yourself ease into that limit, rather than just like hitting a wall all of a sudden. Let the breath be calmer, let it slow down, not in a forceful way, but in a very relaxed way. And just notice, maybe you've been in the habit of forcing the exhalation, or maybe you've been in the habit of not allowing for a full exhalation. So maybe who knows? It could be anything, but only you can discover it. That's the thing. And this is just another important point is that external support and guidance and advice and teachers can be potentially very valuable, and ultimately the real value is when they can point us to discovering the truth of ourselves and our own experience, because nobody outside of us can do it for us. We ultimately already are whole. And so, but if we don't recognize that, if we're not living in alignment with that, then no matter what anybody else does or says or points out to us, if we don't recognize it, and if we don't start surrendering to that and accepting that and living in alignment with that, then none of it really can help us. So take whatever is valuable to you in the pointings and the support from outside, but use it all to help you discover yourself, because that's where the real healing is. It's in discovering yourself. That's where the wholeness already is. And so just noticing, what is your experience? What is the limit? What is the quality of that? And as you just ease into it, you notice, how does it come about? Sometimes it seems like a surprise because of habit and ignorance, but as you become more aware and attend to your experience in this way, you'll see, oh, it's not a surprise. There's some process, there's some habit. You can become aware of it and you can allow it to soften. And then, as I say, your essence emerges, and that's such a delight. So as you're doing this exercise, hopefully you notice that your breath becomes more satisfying, more relaxed, more calm, more peaceful, more blissful. And in some cases, it's possible for some of you, you may notice that the breath becomes so calm, so relaxed, that maybe the breath seems to stop, or maybe it does stop, or maybe it's very, very small. If that happens, that's wonderful. It's a real blessing. If it doesn't happen, that's okay. It's not, you can't force that. But I'm pointing it out just because if that happens, then just allow that. Just open to that and trust in that, because what's happening is that you're allowing yourself to settle into your essence. You don't have to do so much and strive so much and work so hard and make so many movements when you're in alignment with and settled into your essence, because here you are in perfect alignment. Nothing's needed. There's no need to get something or figure something out or fix something or anything like that. So you just naturally, the breath becomes very relaxed, very calm. And when this happens, sometimes it can happen that the breath becomes so relaxed, so calm, that it's either completely stops, or that it's as if it's stopped, or it's so subtle that a lot of things start to get released. So you may experience spontaneous, subtle movements, and as long as they're comfortable for you, that's wonderful, and you can just relax into that process. If it ever becomes uncomfortable, then you don't. I don't encourage you to try and sustain something that's uncomfortable for you. It won't actually be beneficial to you. So just trust that whatever happens is okay. You can just, if it becomes uncomfortable, you can consciously choose to breathe a little bit more. But whatever it is, don't try to force anything. Just trust in the process and know that something wonderful is happening, no matter what. something wonderful is happening, because when you have a healing intention, that guides your experience and guarantees that healing is taking place. That's the power of your intention. So long as you continue to trust in that and surrender to that, then it's guaranteed that everything that happens is in alignment with and in support of that healing process. So you can continue to trust in that. But if you become uncomfortable, stressed, fearful, then just know that you don't, that's means it's just a little, it was a little too much. You just like pushed it a little too far. So just learn from that, relax, soften, let yourself breathe in a comfortable way, and know that no harm has come to you, but you're just learning. You're in a process of learning self-care, learning what it really means to love yourself, who you really are. So it's a really positive thing, the whole process, and you can trust in that. And I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that it's up to you to regulate that and to be a conscious participant in that process, so that you're learning self-care. You're learning what it means to be you as a unique uh, individual, and to take care of your needs, your unique expression, and to know that that's good. It's a really good thing that your life is purposeful and meaningful, and that you are valuable, and that it's good for you to learn to take care of yourself and to attend to your experience authentically and honestly. It helps you and it helps everybody else. Everybody benefits from you taking good care of yourself. So that brings us to the conclusion of our guided practice today. And because it's potentially a very deep process for some, it's important that you don't do anything too sudden. So we want to ease out of the depths of this and gently allow ourselves to come back to our normal waking state. And this process is also very important because this is integration. So it's, we can have these enter into these very deep healing states, but then it's also important that we can integrate that into our waking state, because we need to have that kind of fluidity to be able to uh, bring that healing consciousness in from the depths into all the levels of our experience, because that's how it really brings that healing to all levels. So start by just noticing your body, just become aware of your body. Notice the top of your head, the left side of your head, the right side of your head, the back side of your head. Notice your forehead, your eyeballs, your nose and nostrils, your lips, your cheeks, your tongue, chin, your throat. Notice your shoulders and your chest and your upper back and your upper arms, your elbows, your lower arms, your hands, wrists, fingers. Notice your abdomen, your lower back, your pelvic floor, your thighs and buttocks, your knees, your lower legs, your ankles, your feet, and your toes. And then you can even wiggle slowly your toes and your fingers, and you might want to gently roll your head side to side. You could open and close your jaw a few times. And then you could be aware of your breath entering in through your nostrils, gently filling your lungs, absorbing all of the healthy energy from the breath, feeling that energy circulating through your body, and then feeling all of the things that you're ready to release, no longer needed, moving from everywhere in your body into your lungs, and then moving out through the nostrils with the breath released. And be aware of the space around your body, the room or space that you're in. Notice, what structure you're in. Notice what may be around you. And if your eyes are closed, then slowly, when you're ready, open the eyes. Don't do it too quickly. You want to integrate all that sensory experience. So when you're ready and it's comfortable for you, if the eyes are closed, slowly open them and take a moment to just allow all of that to integrate. Then when you're ready to move into a different position, do so mindfully. Find a good way to do it that feels pleasurable to you, so that it's not jarring to your nervous system. And that concludes the guided practice. So I will momentarily end this recording. For those who are here live, I'm happy to stay on for Q&A if you have any questions or feedback. But I'm going to end this recording now, so there will be the announcement from Zoom. You've been notified about that, so hopefully it will not be too surprising to you. I'm going to click that now to end the recording.